My name is David and we're here at my shop today. I'm going to be working on my X31, specifically making riving knives. Needless to say, it's hard to get riving knives for this machine that actually fit it. So I found that these Biesmeier riving knives, this one is for a medium to thick curve. It's actually only 110 thousandths thick. We would rather it be 120, 118 thousandths for a 125 curve. But it's the closest thing I can find. This is a 78 967. The thin curve is a 78 965. So we're going to adapt these to work. Here we go. The first thing you need to do is lock out the power. I actually have the breaker off on mine. It doesn't do anything, but you can turn the power off there as well, and I'll leave it off. And of course, test it and make sure it's off. All right, so you can see the setup in here. Here's your riving knife. There's your two brackets that hold the riving knife, and then you have the slide nut that goes on the back. And of course, that slide nut's the one that you invariably, when you take this thing all the way apart, wants to drop in there and drop into your hose down there in the bottom of the shroud. So get your rag and stick it down into the bottom of this to block off that port. You'll want to use a little magnet. It helps to catch that nut on the back. And it's that easy. So here's our removed assembly. And you can see the 3 holes here, that's your adjustments. That's your set screws, so you can adjust your riving knife, essentially forward, back, up and down, forward, back. So that's your 3 adjustments. So you have to be able to have these 2 holes in the side. So essentially what we're going to end up having to do on these is drill 2 holes. For these 2 holes right here. That hole right there will line up with that center. Same thing on this one. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to end up cutting this down a little bit, especially down this back side. Both sides. And you can see that I had to grind a little bit off of this arc right here. So we'll get rid of that bottom, those 2 bottom pieces. I got a hole marked right there. We got another hole going to be right there, and then we're going to trim it down the back right here. We may end up having to trim it a little more, but we're going to hold off on that right now. We're just going to trim that much first, and then we'll see what we got to do. I don't know if you're going to pick that up. There's your lines. There's your hole. There's a hole. Here's your line up here. Alright, I got this set to about 360 RPMs. These riving knives are extremely hard. That's a cobalt drill bit in there, and even it's going to have a hard time drilling this. I lied. I must have made the last one using a jobber drills, because that actually went pretty easy. Alrighty, so that's what it should look like. Now we're going to cut this piece off here and then trim the back. I have a feeling that's probably going to not be quite enough on that back, but we'll test it and see. Hopefully you can see that. So I've got it all flushed out over here on this side, so it's looking a lot better. Other than that, you can see where it's hanging out down here, all the way hanging out on this side of the bracket here. And then I'm gonna have to fix this arc right here. Some of this arc needs to be taken off up to about here. So we're going to mark that with the scribe. Now we can take that off and trim that down a little bit and rebevel it. That should be it. Alrighty, so I thought I'd show the difference. So I had to cut a little bit more off the back side of this riving knife for clearance on my zero clearance insert. And that's only because I left about 5/8 of an inch on that zero clearance insert down here to span across. If you are going to use this insert, you won't have to do that, because the inside of this is clear the whole way, and this back side will clear. So what I'll do is I'll make a template of this one that I use for my zero clearance insert, and then I'll make a template of this one that's all cut down except for this back side. So you could do either way, but that's really the only difference. Now this particular riving knife, I had to take 1/4 of an inch off the back side right here. As it goes down to the bracket, it goes down to 0. So it's just a little triangle sliver had to be taken off. Other than that, that's it. If you're using this particular throat plate, because it's open all the way to the back. Just in case you're putting this whole assembly in from the very start, I'm going to go ahead and show it. Of course, it goes together like so. I know I'm blocking the camera a little bit, but it really cannot be helped. Using the magnet makes all the difference in the world. Take you a little screwdriver, push it down in between, that gives you your gap. That way you're able to put that in there real nice and easy. Slide it all the way to the back of the bar. And for right now, all I'm going to do is snug it. And that's it. I'm not going to do any more as far as tightening it up because I'm going to have to adjust it. Go ahead and put a blade on. Blade is on. Alright, so now you got to set your riving knife. Get it essentially parallel to the blade. That's what your little Allen key is for these 3 screws. If you've got you a good piece of stock that's real nice and square, which I got a bunch of it laying over there. I'm just going to use this piece of stock because you can actually see how it's out from top to bottom and front to back by doing this. Just laying your stock right up against that blade. Don't push too hard on the blade or anything so you deflect it. And you can just work it from both sides. And you should be able to see it. You can see it gap across that back there, pinching off toward the front. And then the same thing top to bottom. Alright, you can see it there. It just took a little bit of tweaking back and forth on them set screws. You'll have to tighten down on that main bolt a little bit and then move the screw accordingly, and you'll get that thing to pull around where you want it. But if you'll look at it now, it is up against, and it's that way on the other side too. Alright, the riving knives are done. I do have templates of both the one for my zero clearance insert if y'all happen to be making your own, or I have one that will fit the standard throat plate. The templates for both of the riving knives on the Robland X31 Groups IO website. I will leave a link up above to it, and I'll link to the Amazon numbers for these riving knives. If you don't wish to make your own riving knives, you can probably buy some from Shark Guard if you were to buy the guard for them as well. I know they make the riving knives for their guards. So if that's something you don't have a good guard for your saw, Shark Guard makes a good one. You can get a riving knife from them at the same time. So that might be an option for you. Other than that, we're done. Thank you for joining me.